Hello, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another installment in my reading journal wrap-up series, and today we're going to be doing my wrap-up for the month of March. March was a really bad reading month for me, as you are going to see in a second. I only finished 2 books this month, which is quite a bit less than what I usually complete, and honestly I was feeling really bad about it. But honestly, I feel like it's a good opportunity to remind myself and anyone who's watching this that it's not a competition, and the only thing required to call yourself a reader is the love of reading. And yes, that does include audiobooks. It's easy to go online and see people posting all of these wrap-ups where they read 10, 15, 20, 30 books in a month and feel inferior. But even if you read 10 books this year, or 1 book this year, or even if you have not finished a book in 3 years, you're still a reader as long as you love to read. So yes, I only finished 2 books this month, and I actually kind of hated both of them, but we'll get to that in a little while. The next page that I'm filling out here is my did not finish page, and I did not finish 3 books this month. Like I said, this one was such a difficult month for me. I just felt like I was in a huge reading slump and I really wasn't enjoying anything that I was picking up. Yeah, this month was a little bit of a fail, but next month will be better. The first book that I put on here is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. This one just had a super generic plot to me, and it really just felt like a retelling of the JonBenét Ramsey case. So I got uninvested pretty quickly and had to move on. The next book that I tried and did not end up finishing was Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. This was one of my 5-star predictions, so I'm pretty bummed that I ended up DNFing it. And I feel like it was definitely just a me problem. I may try and pick this one up a little later on in the year to see if I have better luck, but something about it just did not grab my attention, so I ended up putting it down. And then the last book that I didn't finish was What Have We Done? I stopped reading this one pretty dang quick. I think I only got a couple chapters into it. The writing of this one was just super corny, and I wasn't enjoying it at all, and I didn't think that I would be able to find any of the story believable, so I quickly DNF'd that one. On to my book of the month page. I got a couple books this month, and those were Wayward by Amelia Hart and The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, which is one of my most anticipated books of the year, so I'm really excited to read both of these soon. Moving on to the next section, we're finally on to a new seasonal spread, so just giving you a quick glimpse of the cover page for my spring season, which I'm just in love with. I love the teapot. Crossing off the items that I read on my spring bingo, only read a couple of books, and the only one that crossed anything off was reading a sequel, because I read the second book in a duology. And here we are, arriving at my spring to be read. I released my spring TBR video, I want to say 2 weeks ago. So these are all of the books that I mentioned in that video. These are the ones that are like my higher priority books that I really want to get to this month. I do kind of base my seasonal TBRs off of the bingo boards, just because I do want to cross some of those things off. So for instance, Half a Soul is like a Regency romance. Regency romance is on my spring bingo board, so I do kind of try and gear my TBRs a little bit towards what's on the bingo board. And of course, my spring TBR is also shaped by the videos that I plan to release in that season. So As I mentioned in my spring TBR video, I plan on releasing a video that has to do with middle grade novels, and that's why Eva Evergreen's on here. And I also plan on releasing a video about Greek mythology in the spring. So those are a couple of videos that you can look forward to in the upcoming few months. As you can see, I'm also putting these little gold stars onto the books that I read this month, both of which were DNFs, so I don't know if that really counts as reading them, but I'm just putting the star on All Good People here, and also on Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. The next section is recent releases, so these are the books that were released in March. Again, all of these books can be found in my most recent video, which was my most anticipated releases for the spring, so you can go back and watch that video if you're curious to know what books I'm putting down on this list. But I'm just writing the titles on their release date, so I can kind of keep track of the books I'm most excited for. I'm starting to feel like I don't have enough to say in these voiceovers because a lot of it is a repeat of everything I've said in previous videos. So if you guys have any questions for me or questions about maybe this reading journal or anything like that, please feel free to leave that down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have during these voiceovers, so I have a little more to say and I can, you know, kill a little bit of time. Unfortunately, in the next section of this video, my camera ended up shutting off, but I just made little book spines using some excess labels and put them on the seasonal bookshelf. And now we are finally on to the reviews. So the first book that I read in the month of March was A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy I. Lin. This is the second book in a duology, the first book being A Magic Steeped in Poison, which I read back in February. I am really trying to prioritize finishing series this year, so if I start a series, I am trying super hard to finish it within the same year. So I'm really proud of myself for reading both of these books in back-to-back months, but unfortunately this conclusion fell super flat for me. The first book was absolutely amazing. I loved that it had like a tea brewing competition aspect. I really enjoyed our main character and the budding romance between our main character and the boy that she met in the city. And without that competition aspect, I feel like this book just did not really hold my interest very well, and it really felt like we were spending 300 pages biding our time just waiting for the final battle sequence, and there was really not a lot going on and nothing that was really capturing my attention. I didn't feel like we learned a lot more about our character. I feel like we didn't really develop the world that much more. It just felt like we were hanging around waiting for a couple lingering questions to get answered and for the villain to be defeated. So I wasn't a big fan of this one. I ended up giving it 2 stars, and 2 stars almost felt generous for this one. I really feel like the first book could have been a standalone novel had a couple of things been done differently, and I still really encourage everyone to pick up the first book. Just do not continue on, would be my advice. And the second book that I read in the month of March was The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I feel like there were a lot of elements to love in this book. I found the focus on fairy tales and other worlds and mythology and fae to all be incredibly fascinating, and I thought that this book had a lot of promise when I started it. However, I just felt like the plot of this one got lost in translation somewhere, and after the first 50 pages, this book really dragged for me. I also found the mystery and the plot twist of this book to be super predictable, and I guessed it pretty much right off the go. So without that element keeping me guessing and on the edge of my seat, I found this one to be overall just a pretty boring and forgettable read, which is really disappointing because I really love a good gothic fairy tale type of story. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I just didn't find it to be anything super life-altering, but I feel like the reception of this book has been pretty varied, so just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for you. So definitely, if it sounds interesting to you, I would give it a try. And that is going to be it for this video. If you can take a minute to click the like button, comment down below, let me know if you do have any questions that you'd like me to answer in a future reading journal wrap up, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all with a new video next week. Goodbye!